Hey guys, Vladimir here and welcome to another video. Today I will talk about my other activity which I'm really passionate about blogging. Maybe you are not aware, but I'm also running a blog site for years now and it started much sooner than my very first YouTube video. Writing in English turned out to be really difficult for me because it's not my native language. However, standing in front of a camera and talking real time to you guys turned out to be even more complex. I hope that over those years I overcome those obstacles quite well. However, there is still a long way ahead of me. So stick with me if you want to follow my journey. I will talk about my blogging experience from the standpoint of a writer. I will shoot yet another video where I will talk about my blog site from the technical perspective, what technologies I use, what I did use in the past, and maybe how I post those articles, how I manage the code, etc. So if you are interested in that part, I will shoot that in a really near future, maybe next week, we'll see. But today, this will be about why I got into blogging, what it gave to me, and what I think I gave to my readers over those years. So let's get started. So this here is my website in its current shape and form. As you can see, there is a simple bio and my latest posts in English. By the way, I write in 3 languages, however at this point only English is visible. I'm working on it and I will get to that in this technical session. So I wrote much more posts in English, on the blog site than my videos. So I have maybe 60 articles to read. So if you are interested in getting me know better, there is no better way how to do that than reading those posts. Some of them are really personal, but we'll get to that. It already has like 10 pages, so let's get to the last one. That is my humble beginnings. My very first post was about Android platform development and it was a technical one. It's not a coincidence. I planned to do blogging as a way to share my knowledge with you because I realized that one day I will be gone and I want that people could use something from my head because it would be a really waste to lose all the information I collected over the years. I think I'm quite good at putting things together and forming something new out of it, and that is why I got into sharing that knowledge with people, and that is why I got into education business, and I really want to stick to that because I love that. I love sharing my knowledge with other people, teaching them something new and helping them out. That is how I wrote my first post. It's supposed to be in English, it's supposed to be about Android platform development because back in the day I was modifying Android operating system as part of my daily job. We were using a custom Android platform on some medical project in a company I worked for. And I thought that I learned really valuable lessons over those 2 years I worked on this project, and the documentation I found to Android platform development was really outdated. So I thought that maybe I will just write about this, make some current up-to-date tutorials for anybody interested so people can search that through the internet. But it ended with the first post. When you open that, I'm basically setting ground terms for the series which is supposed to be come out in the upcoming weeks. However, it never did. So as you can see, I'm defining terms like AOSP, Android ecosystem, what is Google Apps, how the system is structured out, and etc. etc. So really, I think still this post is really valuable, at least for me, where I explain all the basics to understand if you, for example, go to XDA forum and want to flash your own Android version. I already had other posts in progress, however I never finished that post and instead I stopped writing for quite some time. So as you can see, April 13, 2018, that was my first post. And then March 2019, which is almost a year later, came my second post. This one is really interesting though, because it's not a post per se. I wrote an open letter to our members of European Parliament, I mean the Slovak ones, because the censorship of the internet was on the brink, and I wanted to fight with this. I wanted to bring the discussion, and I felt that I really need to communicate with my representatives in the European Parliament that I have some concerns and they should consider them as well. As you can see, as you probably guessed, the Article 13, or in the latest revision, Article 17, was approved, sadly. However, this paved a way for my social media presence, because from that point on I was starting to be much more active on social media, and from that point I really started putting my opinions publicly. I really started sharing what I think publicly, because I think there is a real problem if just one group speaks freely and the other one is afraid just because their opinions are not shared with the majority of people. So I think it's really important to keep this balance, and I contribute to this mix of opinions with my share of knowledge, or my opinions. So basically you can date the beginnings of my activity on the internet with this date, March 24th, 2019. And now let's continue. So March 2019 was my second post. Let's continue. The other one was in June 2019, and this was a really interesting one. Again, it was a technical post. Stopwatch for firefighter competitions. This was a project I did with the JSC Electronics, which is a company I collaborate for a really long time. And I was developing a tool to measure data for the firefighter competitions from various sensors, including time. There is an animated GIF, so let's take a look. Basically, you have several checkpoints, and you need to measure the data, and then you just set the order of competitors, and there is a winner, of course. It looked like this. You measure time, you measure RPMs, it's firefighters, so also liters per minute, which is the throughput of their hose of water, of course, and other stuff. So really interesting project running on Raspberry Pi. We found several technical challenges, and this post actually says what we had to do to compensate them. So this is something to be part of my portfolio per se. Maybe not that many people read this post, but it's there, it's available, and even some reader asked me to publish the code. So yeah, I talked with my cousin, which owns the company, and we scrapped the sensitive parts, and we published this as open source. So feel free to check it out. So 2 technical posts and 1 agitation to my members of the European Parliament. That was the start. Now it gets more interesting. Please ignore this post for now, because I started republishing my older posts from Facebook also to my blog posts. The rule is simple. I don't publish everything, of course, because Facebook is full of garbage, but sometimes I just wrote longer posts, and I thought that if I put them on my blog site, those will stand out, because among 60 posts or so, they are visible. In Facebook, they are gone for a long time already. So this was republished much later, not in 2019. This was only on Facebook, but it's there now, so just for your information. And now it gets interesting. November 2019, so from June to November, June, maybe 6 months, 6 more months since I published my third post, and this is starting to change the way how I write. Maybe this is the first post where I shifted from being technical to being more personal and to write about my experience with my everyday life, what I lived through, and I'm talking about why I got into social media. So interesting read for some of you, definitely not for everyone. And then again, a technical post, really complex one, really technical. Not many people read it according to analytics, and I can understand because it was I can imagine it was really hard to understand, but I stand by it. It's a really quality post, I think. Basically, I ported the library written for x86 computer and written in C language into Arduino. And just when I go through this, it's really, really long. It took me a couple of days to write, including those code examples, pictures. This is from the technical perspective, this is my most complex article I wrote, and I'm really proud of it. Not many people read it, but I don't care. It's there and it's part of what I did. By the way, the results are again open source. I think links are also in this post, so feel free to check it out. I will leave the link to my blog site in the description of today's video, so you will find it easily. Continuous integration with Arduino. Let's continue let's continue. So, continuous integration with Arduino. Yet another post, yet another technical post. For some people, really interesting. Based on this post or this article, I got some job offer. It didn't turn out well, however, I already saw the potential of a blog site because people got me some offers just because of this. And now I started to yet another completely different topic. I'm passionate about education. I think the education system is outdated and I'm actively working on changing that. I believe in the power of e-learning, and I'm not very happy with the way how I was taught when I was a little child. So I came with a solution. I'm just a blogger, so my solutions won't be accepted probably, but you know, the advantage of being a blogger is that you can write whatever you can, as long as it's your own blog site and it's not a hate speech, which is really subjective. However, I write about things which I'm really passionate about, and the most important thing is I write to sort the thoughts in my head somehow, because as I found out, when I write an article, I need to put the thoughts in a logic process. When I do that, when I publish something coherent, suddenly I have a clear opinion on some topic. And the another advantage is that I can just handle this article, this post to other people without the need to explain everything from the start. So I started to realize that I really love writing, because I didn't know at the beginning. It was just an experiment, as maybe this YouTube challenge. So I found out I really love writing, and I found out it really helps me to form opinions and sort my thoughts in my head. So that is the main motivator for me to continue writing more and more posts. Let's continue. The school system has 3 parts, by the way. It was a really long article, so I split it into smaller pieces. every is focused on some different things. I think the third part is about e-learning. Feel free to read it out and let me know if it's something you are interested in. And then I started writing about my entrepreneurship and experience with that. So I had a startup. It was called Comenio. It was focused on e-learning. I was trying to build an e-learning platform along with my friend of mine. We ultimately failed for various reasons, which are not subject of today's video. However, I also wrote about this, about all the path, because I thought that whatever the outcome is, if this will be a successful startup or not, it's really useful to have it on paper, to have it documented for me and maybe for other people who are considering being an entrepreneurs in the future. So as you can see, the blog site changed from technical blog to technical entrepreneurship blog / with something else. But let's continue. Of course, I'm passionate about the free speech, and the censorship is really sensitive subject to me. So yet another post to that topic. This one here is really interesting because there was some news in the newspaper all over the world that the Finnish Prime Minister wants to acknowledge a 4-day work week. I thought that from the standpoint of an entrepreneur who needs to pay for the workers, it's a bullshit, but I really needed some evidence. So this is the post which I thoroughly researched for maybe 4 days in a row before I wrote it. There is a huge mind map with all references, all sources I found. And of course, there is some bias from me because I thought it's a bullshit. However, I think it's still well researched and it has some value for people. At least the feedback was really great from some of my friends. Another post regarding entrepreneurship. Let's continue. And now this is the first post which Merkur, which is something I worked with as a little child. It's a so maybe the beginning of transformation, my blog. So maybe this was the beginning of my transformation. So maybe this post here was a beginning of my transformation from my blog from technical blog to a personal blog, because from that point I started writing almost about everything. It was not a focused blog on one topic, but I wrote on whatever I thought was good for me. The main purpose was to sort the thoughts in my head and write it on paper. Raspberry Pi as a home router. This is probably my most successful post ever, because it got picked up even on Medium. It got picked up also here. Google search engine is indexing it really high, and this post alone causes that thousands of people are going to my site every month. So I think a really nice post, still relatively up to date, so feel free to check it out. And WireGuard was a follow-up because the purpose of Raspberry Pi as a home router was to have a VPN to my current location. I'm here right now, and to access my local files when I'm at my parents' house. So WireGuard was, I had to study this technology, so I also wrote about this. So 3 more technical posts. Let's continue. This is about public speaking and my experience as a mentor in the public speaking club. So again, changing to something completely different, soft skills, you know. This one here was an experiment. How to download videos from private Facebook groups. Basically, I wanted to find out if I write a tutorial, how well it will turn out to be for the people, I mean the readership. How well it will, how many people will try to search something like this and maybe go through Google and write the phrase like Facebook video download. This post was not very readable on Medium. However, over time it got picked up by the search engine, and this is also one of the most successful posts I ever wrote, especially the English version. This is a really interesting post about, again, your personal goals, maybe mentorship, again, something about mentoring. So I have plenty of posts like this. As you can see, in June of 2020, this blog site was really a mix of me, like the YouTube challenge. Every video is different. Every post can be about a different topic. So from social skills to Arduino development, to Android development, through free speech, everything was posted on this site. The blogging challenge, that was interesting one. It was a project from the Toastmasters, the public speaking organization I was part of back in the days. And the part of the project was to write, I think, at least 8 posts a month. So I had no time to think what to write, because I didn't start at the end of the month. I started maybe after 2 weeks, and I had to write like 8 posts in 2 weeks, which was really new for me, especially because I wrote in English. So it was really difficult, but I got this. And this one here, delayed April Fool's Day, it's about my troubles in a bank institution. Some of my friends really took this as a funny post, because they laughed out loud because they could feel my pain doing all those troubles, communicating with those people in the bank. So again, completely different post than the others. However, more people could relate with that, because in every country, in every continent, there is some banking institution or some corporate, and those things are transferable to every place in the world. So many people could relate. On the other hand, if I gave them Arduino posts, just hardcore programmers could understand what I'm talking about. So that's the difference. Yeah, so another Toastmasters topic, social skills. For example, as I did my first webinar in OBS Studio. By the way, this webinar had 2 parts, or I did this in 2 weeks, and my first session had like 2 people visiting me and listening to what I'm saying, and the second session I had 0 visitors, and I had to record the whole session. So it was really funny, but every had such a humble beginnings, not just me. Another Toastmasters topic, again, Arduino, New Year, new challenges. Let's continue. And now this is the part when my blog site completely changes to a personal blog, because I realized that I love writing about personal topics like social communication with other people, like the disparity in our society. I mean, the things which really matter in a grand scheme of things. I loved reading about this much more than writing some technical posts. So I wrote about miscommunication with other people, about the lessons I learned. And maybe that is the point where I started to really opening up to other people, to the extent that some thought that I'm really crazy, because I shared really personal information. I mean, not information like where I live or who are my parents and how many brothers I have. However, I shared my experience with dating. I shared about my experience with my first breakup. And I did this because I think the lessons I learned were really valuable, and I think that the benefits for the reader are much better than the potential backlash to me personally. I think I can handle that people are laughing at me just because of, I'm loco crazy, just because of sharing something like this publicly. However, I got feedback not once but several times since I'm doing those posts and also videos that some people could really relate, and my blog posts actually helped them. I was the guy who opened up, I was the guy who opened I was the guy who opened myself to the people, and for some of them this was something like inspiration, or I gave him some example. Maybe some of them after a hard breakup felt that their life is complex. However, after they read my post, they could relate to me and find some value, find some meaning to them personally. So when I look at this today, I don't mind that I wrote those posts. Maybe what I changed, maybe what I would change now is not posting them on Facebook, because not every Facebook friends are my real friends, and those posts are really, really personal. So I have no idea who read those posts, how many people read it. However, I'm still glad that those posts exist, even though that I shared really personal stuff with other people. However, I'm not talking about like sharing, as I mentioned, I'm not giving you photos of my family, etc. Most of those posts are personal from the standpoint of my thoughts, how I think, what I experienced, and how I dealt with this. And I think I'm really glad those posts are there and they are helping to people. Maybe not to many people, but they are helping to at least some of the people. We'll get to that later. So the only change I did in recent time was I stopped publishing those posts on Facebook and social media, because I think that those posts are for people who are really genuinely interested in me. If they are genuinely interested in me, they at least know the site I'm using, so they can check the site for themselves. All those posts are publicly available to everyone. It's not put into their nose straight on Facebook. So I didn't hide it from anywhere. I just didn't put them directly and make them easier to find this content. I also created a mailing list which has about 20 members right now, and all those people are the ones who are genuinely interested in my content. Many of those people gave me feedback on many posts or articles how this helped them in some way, and I think this is the way why I do this, why it makes sense to write posts like this, the personal posts, because I can really see that if reading a post like this helped to at least one person, it was worth it. And also don't forget, those posts helped me to sort thoughts in my head. So many of those posts were written when I had no idea what to do next, where to bring my life, how to go along the way. And many times when I wrote this on a paper of some sort, suddenly I had a clear vision what to do next. So writing was beneficial for me, and it was beneficial for my readers, for some of them. Again, let's continue. Still personal posts. Now one post about Eurovision. By the way, this one is interesting. I'm talking about the weird world of singles, which is about how people like me have a difficulty finding someone like a girlfriend, because I'm not the alone. Many of my friends, of my male friends, are single, and I think in different times this would be completely different. Like, I see our society is changing rapidly and not in a good way, and this post was discussing the reasons why it is the case. I'm not solving anything. I'm just thinking what could be the reason. So anything which was in my head, which I had to process, is basically there. I don't write much posts per month. I don't have a plan because I don't want to be a full-time blogger. However, sometimes when I deal with something difficult, I just write about this. Maybe one post a month, then maybe one post after 2 months, and then I have a and then there are times when I write maybe and then there are times when I write like 4 posts in 2 days. So really it is really fluctuating the way or the pace I'm publishing the posts. It really depends on what I'm dealing right now at this moment. And at this moment I'm dealing with a new job. I was trying to find a girlfriend, so I wrote about my experience on the dating sites. Also, there is yet another technical post, but they're just something random there. And again, this is related to finding a girlfriend. Also, this, so you can see the dates and the posts published at some point reflect what I had in mind back in the day. So you can take this blog site maybe as a public diary of some sorts, because I can see at a glance that in 2018 I was dealing with Android, and in 2021 I'm dealing primarily with relationships and social interactions. So it's really interesting in that point. Yeah, and I have another gig or project for a new company. So yeah, I was also dealing with new teammates and new people in a team. So another post about this. And we are almost at the end. This is Peace Dows regarding the Olympics, recent Olympics, which was. I also wrote about the way how many people are superficial and they are not open, and then they don't say frankly what they mean, which I see as a huge problem. However, over the years I was able to find people who are like me, who are open, who say what's on their mind, and this was a way how to process the lessons I learned when I got feedback from listening to other people's opinions on me, for example. And we are almost at the end. The very last post, called Rigged Game, is about my experience on dating sites. You can find many videos where mostly men talk about the disparity between men and women, that for example, women talk with top 5 to 10% of men on the dating sites, and people like me have almost no chance even write some messages with the woman, because you never get a response. So nothing new. However, one thing is to watch those videos, and I wanted to really make my own opinion, have my own experience, because I thought, okay, my friends maybe didn't put everything into their activity, so maybe when I do everything the fruit will come out, but it didn't come out like this, and I just confirmed what I watched on those videos. So it was really depressing from the start. However, at least it allowed me to see the world as it really is, and this post was really good for me personally, because again, It helped me to think what to do next, how to proceed in finding my girlfriend, my future girlfriend. And also I got feedback from several people who were inspired by this post, because as I mentioned, many of my male friends are single as me, and I was, in some sort, I was pushing them forward because they saw me as an example they saw me as an example worth following, and they took they took the lessons I mentioned in the post also for them. So they were really interested to find out what are my findings, how I accomplished in this game. And at this point, I don't have a good news for them. However, it's not the end of the year or my life, so I'll continue with that. However, things change, and I will definitely write about my further experience or how I thought or about my next steps. So many of those posts were so to sum up, I'm really proud on every single post I posted. Even though some of them were really personal, the benefits, I think, overweighed the negatives I've got from publishing it to broader audience. And there is one more thing to think about. Many of my friends or Facebook friends of some sorts, I think, were able to know me better through those posts, because they were able to read my thoughts, how I'm thinking, what I'm going through. And eventually, when I got to some visit to a friend which I just barely knew, or somebody who I met on a conference, the interaction with those people was much better because they knew me to some degree already. So you can say those posts helped me to open doors to some extent, not completely, but for certain people, definitely. You know, we live in a difficult times, and my opinion is like, when I publish something and it just sharing my personal stuff to people, I can handle that, because for writing my because if I write about this, it's harmless. I won't go into a jail for writing a post about how dating sites are rigged. So I can handle that, and I think I'm really confident. So it's maybe difficult for other people to break my confidence, because I know who I am, and I can handle. So that is why I have no issues in sharing that, because we have bigger problems ahead of us, and this is just harmless. This is just some Vladimir writing about himself, and maybe for some people it may be useful. So that is my blogging career. It's not at the end, however, it's at this point it's more of a hobby, and I don't plan to make money out of it. Actually, I'm putting my own money into this because this blog site is a black hole. I already paid some people for doing translations into English. I'm paying for this course to have no ads in there, etc., etc. So really a hobby project at this point. However, I will redesign this website to include other sections to maybe demonstrate what I do for a living, but I will talk about this in a separate video. So if you watched till this time, thank you very much for your attention. I hope you learned something new, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye.